Level 1, the assistant. Your phone starts vibrating at 2:13 a.m. Unknown number. You answer anyway. A calm voice tells you to get dressed and be at a private terminal outside Austin in 40 minutes. No explanation, no second call. The line disconnects. You throw on yesterday's suit and drive through empty Texas highways with your heart beating fast enough to make your hands shake on the steering wheel. 3 months ago, you were scheduling investor meetings for a mid-sized venture capital firm in Palo Alto. Now you're standing beside a Gulfstream jet while a man with an earpiece scans your face under floodlights. He checks your ID once, then snaps it in half. From now on, he says, you use the other name. He hands you a black phone. No contacts, no apps. One number saved. You board the jet. Inside, 6 people are already working silently on laptops. Nobody looks at you. At the far end of the cabin, Elon Musk sits alone, staring at a tablet filled with red numbers. You expected confidence. Instead, he looks exhausted. He glances up once. You're the new guy? You nod. Good, he says. Then he points toward a stack of folders beside you. Read those before we land? You're cleaning up the Singapore situation. You don't know what the Singapore situation is. You don't ask. That's the first lesson. Nobody tells you directly what happened. You piece it together through fragments, an engineer, a leaked prototype, a hotel suite, a non-disclosure agreement worth more money than your parents made in their entire lives combined. You spend the next 11 hours in a glass conference room inside a building with no company logo. 3 lawyers, 2 private investigators, 1 woman from a PR firm who speaks like every sentence has already been approved by a legal department. Your job is simple. Make the problem disappear, not solve it. Disappear. By sunrise, the engineer signs new paperwork. The leaked files vanish. The hotel staff receives bonuses larger than their yearly salaries, and an article scheduled to publish online never appears. Nobody celebrates. Nobody even acknowledges what happened. At 6:40 a.m., a senior fixer named Grant hands you coffee and says something you'll remember for years. Rich people don't pay for luxury. They pay for silence. Level 2, the courier. You stop asking what's legal after month 4. That's around the same time you stop sleeping normally. Your work becomes movement. Phones, documents, people, always moving, always urgent. A senator's son crashes a McLaren outside Malibu after leaving a private party connected to one of Elon's investors. You arrive before the police, not because you're faster, because someone always knows before the police do. That's another lesson. The wealthy don't react to disasters. They detect them early. You collect phones from passengers before officers arrive. You pay a tow truck company $80,000 in cash to lose security footage. You convince a bartender to change a timestamp. By morning, the story online becomes minor collision, no injuries. The actual passenger count disappears completely. You start carrying burner phones in a leather case that costs more than your first car. Different phones for different situations. Political calls, media calls, legal emergencies. One phone only rings after midnight. That's the bad one. You fly constantly now. Austin, New York, Dubai, Tokyo. Private terminals, underground parking garages, conference rooms with soundproof walls. You begin noticing how billionaires talk when cameras disappear, not publicly, privately. Publicly, they talk about innovation. Privately, they talk about leverage, control, weakness, risk. They speak about governments the way normal people discuss customer service representatives, obstacles, tools, variables. One night, Grant takes you to dinner in Manhattan. Expensive restaurant. No windows, no visible security. A hedge fund manager sits across from you wearing a hoodie that probably costs $4,000. Halfway through dinner, he asks you a question. You know why Elon keeps you around? You assume it's because you're useful. The man shakes his head. No. Useful people are replaceable. He keeps you because you don't panic. That sentence changes something inside you. Because it's true. 6 months ago, seeing a politician snort cocaine beside a defense contractor would have shocked you. Now you barely look up from your phone. Level 3, the cleaner. The first time you physically destroy evidence, it's raining. Los Angeles, 3:11 a.m. A Tesla prototype malfunctioned during a private demonstration for investors. Nobody died, but someone filmed it. That's enough. You arrive at a luxury mansion in the hills where the demonstration happened. Music still playing, champagne glasses everywhere. A social media influencer is crying beside the pool because security confiscated her phone. Inside the house, Grant gives you a hard drive. Find everything connected to tonight. You spend 3 hours wiping laptops, deleting backups, removing cloud access. One investor refuses to cooperate. Older guy, worth around $600 million. He keeps saying he has rights. Grant listens patiently. Then he slides a folder across the table. Inside are photographs. Not illegal, just expensive to explain publicly. The investor goes silent. 5 minutes later, the hard drive is in your hands. That's when you finally understand what fixers really are. Not assistants, not security, not advisors. You are custodians of vulnerability. Everyone powerful has weak points. Your job is managing them before someone else weaponizes them first. The money becomes ridiculous. You make $400,000 your second year, then nearly $2 million after bonuses. You buy an apartment in Miami you barely live in. You buy watches you never wear. You stop checking prices on menus, but your actual life shrinks. Your mother asks why you miss every holiday. You tell her work is complicated. Your girlfriend stops asking where you travel because the answers never make sense. One night she looks at you across dinner and quietly says, "You disappear even when you're sitting right here." You break up 2 weeks later, not because you stopped loving her, because she was right. Level 4, the operator, year 4. You stop handling scandals personally. Now you coordinate them. A journalist in Berlin is preparing an investigation into labor practices connected to a supplier. A politician in Sacramento wants regulatory pressure eased before an election cycle. A former executive threatens to publish private emails after being removed from a board. 10 years ago, these would have been separate problems. Now they merge together into one giant machine. And you're somewhere near the center of it. Your team expands. Ex-intelligence officers, cybersecurity specialists, former federal investigators, crisis lawyers, people with military backgrounds and perfectly calm voices. The structure is layered through consulting firms, legal retainers, shell companies. Distance creates deniability. You learn how information actually moves at elite levels. Not through news, not through public statements, through private dinners, golf courses. You begin traveling with Elon more frequently now. Factories in Germany, meetings in Qatar, private compounds in Saudi Arabia. The public version of him still exists online. The memes, the interviews, the chaos. But privately, he's colder. More strategic, he sleeps less than anyone you've ever met. And he trusts almost nobody. One night after a meeting in London, he asks you something while staring out a hotel window. You ever wonder how many people secretly want me dead? You think he's joking. He isn't. You realize something then. Extreme wealth doesn't remove fear. It industrializes it. Level 5, the shadow, you become invisible. That's the goal now. No social media, no tagged photos, no public records connected to your real address. Your apartment technically belongs to an LLC registered in Delaware. 3 cars rotate weekly. You learn surveillance detection routes from former intelligence officers. You stop sitting with your back toward restaurant entrances. You notice exits automatically. You notice hands automatically. A billionaire in Singapore calls because his son disappeared during a yacht party in Monaco. You locate the son within 6 hours, drugged, alive, photographed beside the wrong people. You pay 7 figures for the photos. By sunrise, they're destroyed. Officially, the incident never happened. Another billionaire wants protesters removed from outside a facility before shareholders arrive. You don't call police. Police create records. Instead, private contractors flood the area with fake construction permits and noise. Complaints until the protest collapses naturally. You start solving problems before they become visible. That's the highest level, not reaction, prediction, but the paranoia keeps growing. You know too much now. Politicians, affairs, corporate espionage, private addictions, illegal negotiations. You know which billionaire secretly funds media companies that attack his rivals. You know how often innovation quietly overlaps with sabotage. And the terrifying part? None of it feels shocking anymore. Level 6, the liability. The call comes during a thunderstorm in Manhattan. Grant is dead. Officially a heart attack. He was healthy, careful, experienced, and 3 weeks before dying, he told you something strange over whiskey. If they ever start asking about me, don't stay loyal. Disappear. At first, nothing changes. Then little things start happening. Your access gets reduced. Meetings happen without you. Then one night, Elon calls personally. No assistants, no intermediaries, just him. You should leave the country for a while. That's all he says. You ask if you're in danger. Long silence. Then, everybody becomes a risk eventually. The line disconnects. You spend the next 6 hours deleting your own existence. Hard drives, accounts, contacts, storage units. You burn notebooks inside a steel barrel behind a rented property outside Reno. By sunrise, your old life exists only in fragments. You board a private flight to Argentina under a different name. No goodbye calls, no explanations. That's the final lesson. The closer you get to power, the less human your life becomes. Level 7, untouchable. Buenos Aires. 6 months later. You live in a penthouse apartment overlooking the water. Different passport, different phone, different name. Technically, you survived. But survival feels emptier than you expected. You scroll past headlines about Elon online sometimes, product launches, interviews, stock surges. The world still sees the public version, not the machinery underneath, not people like Grant or you. One afternoon, you notice someone watching your building from across the street. Maybe coincidence? Maybe not. You leave through the rear exit anyway. Old habits survive longer than identities do. At a cafe near the harbor, a young man in an expensive suit approaches your table. American accent, calm voice. He places a black phone beside your coffee. There's a situation in Dubai, he says. You stare at the phone. The same model you carried years ago. The same unmarked black glass. You were recommended. You almost laugh. Because now you finally understand the truth. Nobody escapes this world. Not really. Once you become useful to powerful people, you become untouchable. And untouchable people never truly disappear.